this is Sean Bond, and can you introduce yourself?
My name is Lynn Yatsuk,
Uh,
Jhuch.
and you have quite a bit of wisdom on the saints. Can you talk a little bit of the stories you've learned about some of the things they've demonstrated and abilities in sainthood and the pathway towards that Christ consciousness?
When I read it and how I understand it, it's always different than everyone else. I would read Sister Faustina, and at the time I was reading her, she wasn't a saint yet. She became a saint a few years ago, Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and I used to do the chaplet, and that was my thing. But Sister Faustina, I read her books. There's some stories. I mean, I could tell you the things I remember about stories that shaped me. What do you want me to say? I could just tell you my thinking on some of the stories that I read.
The key words for doors of wisdom for people to go down and discover themselves, like the names of the saints and like what they've demonstrated, and then people can launch their own investigation and stuff into it.
Can I tell you a story about something I remember about Sister Faustina?
Absolutely.
She was chosen by Jesus and tested throughout her time. One of the things that she said she would experience was that she experienced hell. Literally on another, I would say now it would be another plane, but she was taken down by the devil into hell, and she was in a niche. And everybody all around her were like these niches and suffering and everything, you know? And she said the only reason why she knew she wasn't in hell was because she knew that she still had the love of Jesus. But they all had hatred, but she still felt love. That was the only way she knew she wasn't in hell. But she physically suffered. She'd be in a room that was locked praying, but there was no way of her to get in there. So these are signs that people looked at her, but now it's knowing what I know now, it's like, is this stuff even true?
Well, it sounds very familiar to me. I've experienced multiple hell realms and being taken there in consciousness and then finding a way to escape, and them being a lot of predators, and there's different ones, and I've had to categorize them based on what planet makes them. Because they're either quarantine realms to begin with, where they house really negative things that the planet sees as still valuable, to eventually give it enough experiences so it transmutes out of that bad behavior that causes harm to ultimately itself in other beings. And then sometimes there's a big powerful realm that has a bunch of things that negative forces want, and then so they target that realm and then invade it and then overwhelm it to the point where it has to become like a hellish realm. And the hellish realm just goes into how much bad experiences are continuing and going, and it ups and downs, and there's a lot of sped upness to some of these realms. It should be to where a lot of the things that want to be in this game have the ability to go through their own kind of teacher system that depends. The more hellish it is, the more clogged up it is as a realm. So the realms are like a consciousness that tries to orient towards healing themselves and making themselves a better teacher. So if someone was dragged to a negative realm, that's usually it's getting overwhelmed, and then or something stole the authority to create it, or all this, because it's usually the planet that makes it. Though I've seen multidimensional beings that have been able to gain authority to make it, or stolen authority, or something that's powerful enough to steal a realm from a planet or something, and then house that and or if it's used against you, as a person, you have the ability to collapse that realm and then make, because it's used to enter your game. So if it's something negative that's used on you, that's overwhelmed and it's not in its correct perfect path, and you have the ability to resolve that, and then you gain a large amount of authority very quickly in realm awareness and abilities, depending on what path you take through in the ability. And if it's really used against you, you kind of have to go through all the ins and outs of it to rise up, and then you learn all that, and then you can become like an authority realm keeper or guardian or jail keeper if it's like going into the hellish spaces, but also other neutral or heavenly places exist. Hope that helps. Yeah,
Anybody get amazed how blown away they could be about what you know?
yeah, it's like a lot of compressed time. So I've been in a lot of realms, and it's very emotional going into it. But I try to like make it light now. There was a lot of pain with some of them, the forced incursion ones. So yeah, I think a lot of this, I've seen this happen with other people too, and they don't know what it is, and sometimes they fail to it. And the goal is to, if it's a negative realm like that, and then put over someone's trying to corrupt them, and then take them over. But like if somebody overcomes the challenge, then it turns them into like something as powerful as that thing, and then into the light. So a lot of this type of thing is done, and it can make saints and spiritual beings, wizards, other types of multidimensional aware beings.
Yeah, it's so weird because when I was practicing my Catholic stuff, the old traditional stuff, I was like, always seemed like, why isn't anyone else like picking up on this Catholic information? Like, I know stuff that people don't know. They don't have, like, why is the sky blue? Well, because the Father wanted blue and white for the color of Mary. You know what I mean? It's like, nobody knows these things if you're a Catholic. If you're supposed to be in the church, these people should know this stuff, and nobody, not even priests, know this stuff. And there was a book, there's like a 4-volume book, but in each book there's 2. Some of the stories, it describes the whole story, how the Virgin Mary was created. To the mystical, it's called The Mystical City of God by Saint Mary of Agreda. And it talks about many things, and one of the things is that the Virgin Mary, had to suffer all the 7 sins with temptations by the devil, and it describes each and every temptation that she went through and how she superseded and passed all that. There was even a description in such a way, but it doesn't say it, but basically what they're saying is the Blessed Mother even never defecated or used the bathroom. I couldn't imagine her doing that. And I thought to myself, like, well, she'd have to eat something just that would fit her body. And when I read it in this Mystical City of God, it didn't say it like this, but I understood that she just ate the right amount of food in order not to use the bathroom. I mean, now knowing what I know, I don't know if that's true, but as a diehard Catholic, I was like, oh my God, she's so perfect.
And that goes into the breatharian section, and the Hindu mystics that can't learn how to not eat, and then also seen a few that stopped drinking. But like not everyone's able to do that. You got to like resolve the body issues and toxins and all that. But and then the craving and the subconscious and the mind and the belief and the
a lot of work,
because like stress eating and and then and then being able to hold up your weight and take the purity, and then great light. A lot of it's like light, and a lot of core wounds are like lack of love. And if you're like able to generate this constant energy within, or also like be an inviting place for energy in the environment, then it seems to be able to run itself without needing food pretty well, like a plant going fully into photosynthesis.
I'm just glad at one thing in my life, or a few things, that I had this a long sense that I have to practice being hungry, because being poor, not eating as much. But what I did eat was bad stuff, because I was almost 300 pounds and I lost weight, and I don't have to be on diabetic medicine. So that's, to me, when you're talking about working on some of your issues, at least I could do that. I'm already like a little bit there. To work on more things, but I know there's so much more. Right. Like, I have great fear that always feels like it's there. I never want to disappoint people. So I was very religious, and I studied the church for 20 years, I would say. I got to the point that I learned so much that when I would go to church the last 5 years or so, started becoming mundane, boring, because they're not saying the stuff that I know. Why aren't you guys telling people? This stuff would be so, if everyone was like enveloped in the stuff I learned from the saints, They're
not fully empowered, and the religion wants to make as much
Yeah.
um,
It- it-
drawn outness
yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at church every day in mass, receiving communion for years, confession all the time, the head covering for one, you know. Yeah, but see, I also gained a lot of weight doing all that. Well, that's where my weight gain came into play, you know. Then I saw myself as one of those overweight people who's diabetic and gives themselves insulin so that they can eat more sweets, you know, and then have a dog with you.
What did you learn from the types of things people were able to demonstrate through faith, miracles, purification, divinity, working with source, working with source emanations, and being collectives of unity, such as the Christ figures and other sages throughout history that were before Christ?
Yeah, yeah. Saint, there's a Saint Teresa of the Little Flower. She was a Carmelite nun. Her life was all, she always knew as a little girl, like she had the age of reason, she believes at the age of 3. And she always did things to please God. You know, these little things. She would always go out in the field and pick these little flowers and things. She always thought when she was in a bad mood, it always got cloudy. She was like a child. St. Teresa the Little Flower, she was a Carmelite nun, but she was like the little baby, you know. She seemed to me like the baby of the nuns in the Carmelite order. And she was always getting sort of special treatment, but people, the other nuns would be like mad at her. You know, that's my feeling. But she would have expression or things and visions of Jesus. And she was always tested, but she always did it lovingly and patiently and never getting angry. If it was her, no, it was Sister Faustina, though, in the Divine Mercy. She would be like doing busy, and then somebody knocked on the door, and she went to answer the door. And some of these things are fading because I've been learning about this, you know, all my stuff that I've been learning about. And I had all these books, and I gave them to other Catholic people. And Sister Faustina was kneeling and having a conversation with Jesus and a vision. And then somebody knocked on the door, and she said, "Excuse me." And she goes and answers the door to take care of whoever came in. And Jesus told her when she got back, "If you didn't do that, I wouldn't have been here when you got back." And I'm thinking to myself now, I'm like, well, if I didn't do that, she wouldn't have been. How is she going to come back and you won't be there? Anyways, so for example, I learned to be like, whatever I was doing in my life, I would drop it and go. Because of that, I learned whatever anyone's doing asked me to do, I wouldn't say, hold on a minute and wait a minute. I'd say, hold on, or I wouldn't do that. I would just go. So now, with leaving that, I'm actually getting mad at myself for being that way, because I trained myself to be such a good servant that I'm now seeing that why can't everyone else be the servant instead of me? And I know I'm not like the be all end all anything, but around here where I am the one that found myself working that angle so well that now it's annoying. And I don't know how to stop it. I just do it to OCD level. I don't know if that's even bad or good, but it's like I don't even know. It's like how do I do things for myself without me being total? I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but I'll stop because let me think. What else? Padre Pio. He's the one that would bilocate and levitate. Okay. I had a female dog. I named her Pia because I was told that Padre Pio had a sister named Pia. So I had a little dog named Pia. But Padre Pio supposedly had the wounds on his hands. The of them stories, there's like so many stories of Padre Pio would be in mass, doing a mass, and people would see Padre Pio while he's having mass on the other side of town helping them out. So I always wished I could do something like that. And that's if anything else you want to ask that, because I can ask. I more so know the Catholic answers. But like if you asked about a saint and if I read about him, I could say, I don't know if you know any saints. Do you know any saints?
Not off the top of their names off the top of my head.
Yeah.
A few of them, I have written down from when I was researching a bunch of them. I don't know all of them, and I would love to get a record of all of them and go into a video. Didn't know I was going to be doing this, but
Okay.
gosh,
Now
I
I have.
know ones that like emanated light, went around levitating, healing people, healed eyesights, like could
Yeah.
stimulate visions, like saw a lot of visions, knowingness, clairvoyance of the future, and precognitive ability to tell
Yeah.
stuff. And then people that were for the different kings, the
Yeah.
ones that they sought after to like
Yeah.
work with, and then some that were like challenged, like for possible witchcraft, depending on who was in charge. Religions back then, and then them being able to get out of jail and escape, and some interesting stuff of, and then things, ones that couldn't die if they were like executed, and
Oh
and
yeah. Saint Lucy, who had her eyes gouged out, put on a plate, but God restored her eyes. There's a Saint Lucy. I didn't read much on her. I just know that she was so beautiful, and they wanted her, and they tried to. I think this is the same one. They tried to touch her body to violate her, and it wouldn't happen. And her body was not able to be picked up. She was like solid, like a statue on the ground. And for
a
them
good
being,
ability. I like that one. It's like
yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
And for the fact that they couldn't get to her, they were mad, and they were able to gouge out her eyes, which that doesn't make sense to me. But then her eyes were on a plate, but somehow those eyes were restored.
Ooh, did it like go into the eyes on the plate weren't there anymore, or was it like
No,
there?
she had her eyes on the plate served to her, but her own eyes were restored.
Did the eyes on the plate get put back in, or did
All I know is the words. If I'd have to go back and read it again, but all I
or
remember was that her eyes were restored. They didn't say how. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how.
it'd be interesting
Yeah.
to know the depth of that miracle, into like if she regrew her eyes, or if she just put them back in and was
Yeah,
able
but
to
they
salvage.
have a statue of her at St. Stanislaus in Middletown, and but you can't see the eyes because the statue is way up here, and she's holding a plate, and she has her eyes in the plate. And it seemed like her eyes were dark, I remember, but I've been, like, I remember looking up, but I wish I could see the eyes on the plate, but her eyes seemed like they had eyes in them, but they were on the dark side.
Awesome.
So, now, do you ever hear about the brown scapular?
Nah.
Okay, the brown scapular is supposed to be 100% wool. I wore it faithfully every day. The brown scapular is a piece of square wool like this, in front and in back, like you would wear mantra beads or something, but they would have a square wool cloth in the back. The straps were made of wool, and the square was made of wood. 100% wool, because it was supposed to be the Blessed Virgin's cloth that she gave to Saint Simon Stock in the year 1200, somewhere in the 1200s. And that was to a Franciscan. Franciscans wear them, and when you wear that, you would never suffer eternal hell. That was like insurance.
How about like ones where they brought people back to life, and
Well, you're supposed to wear it. You're supposed to wear oh, you mean the saints that brought people back to life?
yeah.
All right, wait. What is her name? I read this in a book of tales, but they had true elements, and they never actually said which one was which, but there was I can't remember her name, but if you typed some sort of words in there, you might find her. She was a person who had died, and they had a funeral for her, and everybody was in the church, and all of a sudden she flew up and out of the casket and perched like a bird up on top, and people all freaked out and left. But she spent her time living by the lake, out near a tree and in a lake. She would run into fire, run into water, perch up like a lake. She would throw herself in a baking oven when people got too close, because she couldn't stand the smell of people, because they had such bad odor. But they said it was sin, smell of evil. These were stories in a book that, like, lessons of stories that were told throughout time. But there was that story, but forgot her name. What else?
Like people summoning angels. There's like resurrection, and then there's
one.
and the depossessing ones, like the Legion story and some other stuff.
No, I probably see what I did too is because the Catholic Church teaches you don't read anything outside the church. So anything of them proved. So I stuck myself in the box and only read tan books, anything that was approved by the church. Tan books are the ones that will restore all the old religious books. So if you're ever looking for really good religious stories, tan books restores old books.
Does it like restore or because it's kind of been hard to find the notes of the mystics and the saints.
Yeah.
Does the Vatican like keep those to themselves and they don't make copies, or is it like some of them have been leaked?
I don't know if you could see.
Yeah.
Cool. At all.
Spiritual life.
Yeah. This book, I don't know if you can see how it's already to rip off. I bought it this way. This ancient book.
Cool.
It has a imprimatur. And supposedly as I understand it as a Catholic person, that the nihil obstat and the imprimaturs are approved by the church, meaning anything in there doesn't go against the church's teaching. That's what the imprimatur means. And the nihil obstat, I forgot what that meant again. I think that's part of it. And this book is supposed to be the ultimate old guide. Now, tan books takes books like these old books, and rewrites or reprints them. This is, I don't know, when was this written? This was written.
What are your like favorite texts that you've read that are like saint related and very insightful?
Mystical City of God and that is the Mystical City of God and the City of God, but they're not the same. It says Mystical City of God is by Saint Mary of Agreda, and then there's a City of God. Like I said, my favorites were Faustina, Pio, Saint Teresa, Little Flower. I have an old email. It's like Little Flower 3333.
Right. Whatever stories you got, like as like a little road trap, for people.
I don't know I wonder what this. You're talking about raising people from the dead. I read a story that there was a dispute over when somebody dies, they leave an inheritance, right? And the families were fighting, and everyone's fighting. So they decide, they were talking to their family priest, and they decide, the priest says, let's go ask him. They literally supposedly went to the grave, raised him from the dead to ask this guy if he wants, to tell us. And he told who was supposed to be the winner. Okay. And then the priest had asked him, since he was standing there alive in front of them, do you want to stay alive? And he said no.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. It's really interesting. Like, there's different necromancy type of things, and like even to really deep miracles of restoring the body, and then there's like windows of opportunity to where when the cells start committing suicide, and what and how bad that feels if you come back into the body of that, and then like the setup for it to prevent that, so the body like stays well longer, if like somebody's making the spiritual journey in resurrection, where they're gaining all this awareness and going through the like bardos and other tests of gaining more of themselves, and then being able to come back in the body, and then make mystery schools of being able to set up that well, and like how to stimulate that near-death experience, where the body, the soul can leave the body for a bit and then come back, or like doing it unsuccessfully in mystery schools, and then being having bleed overs of that. And each time it gains more into the person spirit and in incarnations. And then there's like a big, like there's gifts for anyone that tries to do it and like what they come back with, but there's like the really big gifts and like beyond immortal states and being able to remanifest, unmanifest your body and like appear to people and bilocate and all that. But yeah, and then soul retrieval, if somebody's yanking somebody's soul back in and to the body, and if it's like in the dead and necromancy and zombies and the different types of, if they're actually bringing the person's soul back, interviewing it, if they're just having a seance with just the spirit and asking it, which has happened many times in different ways, and then if it needs the body animation and sound, then that going into that. But then like the enslaving versions of like negative things, because yeah, the dead don't really want to be involved in the body anymore unless they had like overweighing goals that made it worth it, which a lot of times most spirits don't want to be here at all. It's horribly a huge weights on the anyone that's being that we're just born into, and we forget how different it is in feeling and one connectedness and oneness with the universe after death and the orgasmic state of dying and remerging more with source.
See, religion, well, the religion that I studied and read in the deepness, there's a book called Heaven, Hell, Earth, Purgatory, or Heaven, Hell, Purgatory, Earth, whatever. And it describes in there about when you die that you suffer such pain. Is this true? But you're saying it backwards, or at least what I understood, meaning if a person gets pulled back into the body, it's painful?
Yeah, and like, especially if their pain receptors are up, or if they're like somehow brought in numb wise, because sometimes there's the concept of the soul being brought back in, and depending on what's the body's condition, they may come back screaming. And so it can be very painful, and it's kind of resolving shit tons of karma by being here more than anything else in bodies. It's like a big weight on shoulders and pain, and it's just like numbing. So being here is kind of, we're numbed the senses a lot unless you like purify it. But yeah,
I would like to.
It sucks for a lot of things, and then people go into the moral spirit thing. There's a lot more free will with death. And where you go, depending on the belief system, the soul family, the people that will help you or hinder you after death, where you die, where your body is, entanglement to the body, and then traps, like depending on the spirit and their capabilities, if they're going to be like trapped in like certain places that they died, or like the house or attachment. The road systems seem to do some weird things with ghosts of animals that I see, and some of them feel like trapped in between roadways. So there's like different effects and how to get them out of that. But yeah, and then so there's heaven in this realms. There's like the Summerland. There's like the neutral zone or limbo. But like then there's the like hellish zones and the quarantine realms. And like if a being is meant to learn how to do things, because this is a big school, and then they'll go to the next place that they need to be. But sometimes they get abused too because of deals or something else that they made with certain beings, that entanglement with their soul. And then yeah, there's a lot of good things to go to: astral zones, creations, things that you set up when you came here that you brought from other worlds or made yourself, or with soul family, astral realms, and things that like link together and can commerce with each other. Like natives will have a different thing, and they usually interact with the land a lot more too, in anchored ancestors. And a lot of the native tribes will have different things that they go to, more source merging concepts, as well as places of greater bliss output, and like the white places and the black places and the other things like that people can go through in between in creations.
This book, though, if you're interested, you can have it when I see you.
Well, that's nice of you. I appreciate that.
And
I look forward to any kind of knowledge from every.
I mean, if you're into it, you seem like you're into it. This is the last book I have because I got a lot of, and if you want old books, but they might be reprinted, like these kinds of books, go to Tan Books. Those are the guys that restores all the old books, like the Douay Rhymes Bible. You heard about that? As a Catholic, there's only one approved Bible, which is called the Latin Vulgate. You heard of that?
Yeah.
The Latin Vulgate is the only approved Bible in the Catholic Church. No other Bibles are approved. Now, you know how you got conspiracy theories everywhere? Well, there's also, I learned that in the Second Vatican Council, it's like the opposite of the traditional. And they put a lot of imprimaturs on things that shouldn't have had imprimaturs. So that's why when I used to go to a shrine and this Virgin Mary used to appear there, had appeared there. I actually went there and I took pictures, and all these light beams and everything came out. You know, I had pictures like rosary beads floating in the air in the dark. You could see all these. I have pictures of that stuff, that when I used to go. But at that shrine, they said, don't read the modern books from modern people and to read the old books. So that's why everybody who went to that shrine would go to Tan Books, because they were all about restoring old books. Like, I don't know if they would have this one in there, but they would have, I would have to find this again. I was like, ask me more, because I very easily, my mind wanders and starts asking questions and thinking about things.
Going into the people you saw levitating or emitting light or halos, or the concept of angelic wings or angel interaction.
I haven't had any experience ever in my life with anything mystical.
Yeah, I mean, like the saints you heard about.
Oh, the saint. I told you about the ones that are most prevalent in my mind. All right, let me tell you this. All right, there's a shrine called Bayside. There's also a shrine called, or an apparition, whatever, called Medjugorje. Now, here's strange stuff about this, is that when a church does an investigation to prove if they were real miracles, they have to do an investigation. Well, the Medjugorje shrine that is seemingly prevalent in the world, more so than the shrine would be of Bayside in New York, is that the Medjugorje that everybody uses and talks about all the time has been denounced by the Catholic Church with a 3-year investigation. Okay.
I love looking at the things they denounce and the things they took out of the Bible, because there's a lot of control on it. So it usually has some importance if they don't like it.
Yeah, well, that's weird too, because the shrine that I used to go to has never got approved. And there was a big thing when I was going there that they were talking about the shrine never had the actual investigation. They wouldn't even investigate it. They just wrote 1-page letter saying, nope, there's no miracles going on. And to me, I'm thinking, well, you investigated Medjugorje for 3 years to prove that there were no miracles, but you won't even look at the shrine at Bayside.
Why aren't we hearing more about like new miracles that they find in the world? I don't hear about any of that stuff. It's like they don't even care about it or want to support the claims of the religion at all, or even that people can do things. They just want to oh, you don't have any power, and here's where the power is, and just keep praying to us and giving away your power to us, and not going into full unity with the positive aspects of the religion, which there are so many.
They make fun of the Pope. Remember, you ever hear the story about the Pope who died but didn't die? You know, I have to get the book. It's downstairs. But there was a Pope years ago, and they had an imposter Pope. So one was an actor acting as the Pope that they had killed. But when they had pictures of them side by side, they do not match. They have different shaped faces. But nobody in the world saw that this was a different Pope when they would see him on TV. You know, this was like in the 70s, 60s, 70s, before Pope John Paul II. The 2 popes before that, they had an anti-Pope and the real Pope they killed and put an actor in for 6 months. They killed him 6 months before. And the shrine confirms that. And they had the pictures. I have the picture in a book. It's a Bayside book of the 2 popes and the dates that they were in, that they say this is the real Pope and this is the fake Pope, and they don't look anything alike. And their voice recordings were different. And but everyone still makes fun of that. I believe something happened. And also that shrine said back then that the devil will, no, that was Sister Catherine said, the devil will enter your church, into your home through black screens, black boxes. The shrine that I'm talking about at Bayside said that you will see World War III on your television screens. What's going on right now? They said there will be 2 suns in the sky before the end. The chastisement's supposed to come and hit the earth, but you'll see 2 suns in the sky. Know that the end is near because 2 suns will be in the sky.
The coming of the second sun prophecies too. I don't. There's like multiple things with that, because that like goes into either the binary star system we're existing in with Sirius A, and like how they like rotate with each other in the great equinox and the precession of the equinox, where every 24,000 years they get closer, and then the coming of the second sun, and as it gets closer we're more greater in consciousness, the golden age and iron age away, and we're coming out of the iron age. But like usually, like, depending on the translation, like people describe it, the end and the apocalypse is the same thing. Apocalypse is unveiling of truth. And usually time doesn't like to just end. It will like go into a creation of something else new, and like doors opening. But also there's the other little dwarf star systems that interact with us in different layers, and like that are kind of able to move. And then how there's like history of Saturn being a sun before it fell and back into a planet, and same thing with Jupiter doing something similar before it was here, but like barely anyone knowing about that history, but it's recorded in like walls and stuff in the Thunderbolt project.
I haven't subscribed to them. I should watch more of them. I've seen a few videos. There's a video by Michael Love that came across now the day before. I've been seeing 1221, right? I go to bed at 12:21. Then later in the afternoon, I happened to look at the clock. It was 12:21. I was like, I gotta look up and see what that means. And I come across this video about 12:21. Now, like, all I've been doing is because I'm an easy person to be influenced by others, I noticed, and I don't like that I do that. And I did it with you, and I'll tell you that one in a second, because this stuff, it's like I don't like that I do that. I'll tell you in a second. So the video basically is saying that this guy, Michael Love, had received this information when he almost had died in a car accident. You got to come back. He knows the time of the New Age Aquarius. Is supposedly, he says 12/21/2020 at 11:11 UTC starts the one tick over. I could send you the video that I watched, and I say I don't know, but he talks about the stuff like 2 suns in the sky. It'll look like there's 2 suns. There'll be a flash, and that will mark the age of Aquarius. The closer you are to 5D, you will see now. You'll be able to.
I've seen a video footage of 2 suns in the sky, and it's like different effects and things that people come up with in beliefs on what it means and where it is. And I love looking for evidence in that, but there's not too much in it, and it's a weird rabbit hole. But I'm looking out for it because of the prophecy, and I know people also are looking out for it if it's just photo editing, or if it's more than. That's a wonderful rabbit hole to go down. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us in the show, and can you plug your information if you want people to get a hold of you? But if not,
all right, thank you. No, I don't have any of my own shows or anything.
Okay.
I don't have anything yet like that. I would love to be doing stuff like that.
Okay, how would you want people to reach you if you did?
I just have an email, lynnjacuch@gmail. PsionicLeague.com.
And I'm Sean Bond with the Psionic League, and we like to go into all the beliefs and the gold nuggets at the end of the tunnel for all of them, and as we bring it together and then rise together, a great thing. So reach us on Psionic League and also on .com or YouTube or whatever. I'm also on Facebook. Thank you. Love you.